In this video, I will be reviewing the Deathwatch Codex. So the new Deathwatch Codex for the 8th edition of the game has now actually come out. Well, it's going to be coming out this weekend. Just having a look at, from what I can actually find regarding what's going to be happening with the new Codex from various different sources. It's basically just going to be a big update. We're going to get a lot of new Marines, mainly the Primaris stuff being added into the Deathwatch, which everybody knew that was probably going to happen, including the new Deathwatch captains, which is, don't get me wrong, I always thought Deathwatch were taken from the best of the best of the alien hunters from the Marines, which is why they were taken from all sorts of different chapters. It does look like they're just going to be shoehorning Primaris Marines in there, unless of course these are set many years after various different fights with various different alien breeds. Not much has changed in the actual Codex itself compared to the Index. Of course, we've got all the new Primaris stuff, and they're no longer called kill teams, now just called vets for your basic squads, which can be quite alright. I mean, you've got a lot of guys that's going to have a lot of 2 attacks rather than the standard attacks. If you've seen the video regarding how we didn't like how Space Marines don't really get a lot of attacks in a previous video when we had a look at the 10 months on the Space Marine Codex, I probably welcome that sort of addition with this particular type of army. All the ammos have really stayed the same. There's not really much of a change apart from the fact that you can use a lot of the ammo types with the new Primaris weapons. They have added some keywords like Titanic has been added now as an exception to the Hellfire rounds, which I've not come across that myself, but I could see some amusing times of big nasties suffering at the hands of a 2+2 wound. There's a list now which specifies all the bolt weapons that can have the actual additional rounds. Surprisingly, the interceptors, sorry, they're pretty much heavy bolter hand cannon. He doesn't have access to the additional rounds, which I can see why they've done that. Those particular weapons in question, they're quite nasty, especially since you get to wield them as a pistol. They get to have 2 of them. It's 3 shots a piece per weapon, so it's 6 shots per model. In a unit of 3, it's 12 shots. They can be quite devastating, especially with them being a kind of like a short-ranged, a lot heavier firing heavy bolter. The usual extra rules, of course, that we seem to see in all codexes regarding troops choice trumping other choices on objectives is here. Of course, the Deathwatch have access to what's called mission tactics. It basically allows you to reroll 1s to wound against certain units, which is quite handy since there's no lieutenants or lieutenants in the actual army. There's a watch captains, and of course you've got watch masters. These allow rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling all failed hits, but nothing to reroll those 1s to wound, which is how they compensate it by allowing you to pick a particular type of unit on the enemy field and allowing you to reroll 1s. This can't be changed during the game unless you're using a particular relic or warlord trait or even stratagem to allow you to either temporarily or permanently change it over. Depending on course upon your army, or the army that you're fighting, some units are going to have more elite choices. Possibly Eldar units would probably have more elite choices. Tau units would have a lot more troops, but you might actually want to take on their heavy support choices, or again even their elite choices, trying to take on their crisis suits. Now the kill teams themselves, like I said, they're not longer called kill teams; they're now called vets, which is a bit of a shame. I quite like the older fact that you actually took a Deathwatch kill team as your basic troops choices. They're kind of split into 2 different ones. You've got like a Primaris version and your standard veteran version. Your standard veteran version hasn't really changed much. You can still add your Blackwatch, you can still add your Assault Marine, you can still add your Terminator. All of these things, of course, will give you additional benefits. pretty much the same as what's in the index. You know, your assault marine allows you to fall back out of combat and still shoot. Your biker allows you to fall back out of combat and still charge. If you've got one of each, you can fall back and pretty much do what you want. The Primaris version has, of course, the Hellblasters, the Intercessors, the Interceptors. They do the same thing. They give you a special benefit if you include those particular units in the actual squads. Now, Games Workshop's already released this on their website, so I'm not really going into much detail on what these particular units are going to be doing, what we're going to be able to help you with, what we're going to be able to cause you in addition. And you can't mix the units, so you can't mix the standard and the Primaris, which is a bit of a shame actually. I was quite looking forward to having a mixed kill team of Primaris and standard, and just giving it a bit of different flavour with everyone helping everybody else rather than being separate all the time. Now, the relics in the book, there's only 6, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't impressed with the relics at all. You've got one that allows you to pimp up a power sword, giving it 2 damage, one that effectively does the same thing to special issue bolter rounds, one that pimps up a storm shield, allowing the bearer, if you stay still, to extend like an invulnerable save range to other units within 6, like giving them a 5+ invulnerable save. That's probably one of the ones that I might go for. I do have a character with a storm shield. The other one, of course, I've already mentioned, that allows you to change a tactic. Again, I think that one's going to be used quite a lot. And one that allows you to teleport a unit within 6 inch of your actual watch captain. So you can bring a squad. I believe you can also bring like another sort of Terminator squad and just have them teleport suddenly to where your captain is. That could be quite useful for trying to get units across the board quickly, or even trying to get them out of sticky situations where they're on the verge of being maybe taken out for a kill point or 2, and then of course you can just run them out, bring them out of actual combat, and to keep them away, keep them into a safe distance. Or again, try and organise an assault. They still follow the same patterns: 6 inch away from your captain or watchmaster, and then of course they've got to be 9 inches away from an enemy unit. That stratagem though can only be used once per game. The warlord traits are actually, well, you're gonna get some generics and you're gonna get some more interesting ones. Your basic generic one is going to be the ones that allows you to get your command points back, 5+ to get command points back. Always, it seems to be another one that seems to be cropping up in a lot of codexes. One of them allows you to reroll your wound rolls when attacking vehicles or monsters, but it's only for your warlord. So depending, of course, upon what your warlord's armed with, I'm not sure a lot of people will be picking that one, to be honest with you. Another one does the same sort of benefit for damage characteristics. Watch Eternal though, that one will probably be used most often. It allows anything within 6 inch. If a Deathwatch model or character or infantry unit loses its last wound within 6 inch of the watch captain or watchmaster, then on a 6 it ignores that, it doesn't lose that last wound. So that would be pretty good when you're taking out particular units. It doesn't say per wound, it just says when it loses its last wound, it's basically just going to get like a latch disc save, like, oh right, okay, 6, I'm not dead. That, again, I personally think I'll be using that one most often. And the last one is it's basically like a nowhere to hide. The watch captain or whoever's in charge of warlord picks a unit, and on the enemy's side, and that unit doesn't get the benefit for being in cover. That could be quite interesting to mix it with some of the Primaris Marines with the longer range bolt rifle, the one that acts more like a sniper, the one that's heavy 1. It's already -2 on its profile. If you give it like a Kraken round, where it's going to get additional minuses, then that's going to make it even worse. Especially if it suddenly becomes a -3. They did put a cap on the minuses though. I believe the maximum minus you can actually have on any weapon for the bolt rifle is 3, so you can't suddenly have a -4 weapon. With your bolters, it always is going to be a 3, so any enemy units with a 3+ save are going to be able to save those with a 6. The Librarian's powers are exactly the same as you find in the Space Marine Codex, so I'm not really going to be going into that, because that's going to have been covered before. Moving on to, of course, the stratagems. There's quite a few stratagems that are just, again, some more generic Space Marine ones. But there is a couple of stratagems that are quite interesting. The ones that are mainly 2 command points at +1 to wound against certain unit types. That could be quite useful when you wanted to try and take out a particular tank. 2 command points rather than, if say for example it's a toughness 7 elder vehicle, rather than rolling 5s to wound, you suddenly need 4s to wound, mixing it in with certain rounds, allowing you additional minuses. You could do quite a lot of damage. Same when you're going against infantry, especially when it's like a +1 against like crisis suits or something of that nature. Again, mixing it in with some of the rounds, that could be really potentially damaging. There's also some other types of stratagems that are alien specific, such as targeting scramblers. These are against a Tau. This stops marker lights, so once marker lights have hit a unit, Deathwatch unit, you can play those for 1 command point, I believe, and it just gets rid of them. Gets rid of the stratagem, gets rid of the marker lights from that unit. That could be quite frustrating if a Tau unit uses quite a lot. There's also one that allows you to basically target synapse creatures for Tyranids. This is quite useful, I would think, especially sort of maybe even putting it into a unit that's got a couple of Hellblasters in there, try and take down some of the Synapse creatures. Some of the Synapse creatures, don't get me wrong, you've still got Hive Tyrant in some of the bigger creatures, but I have seen a lot of people taking some of the smaller ones like the Tyranid Prime, I think it's a Xenophobe Prime, you can't be targeted if you're not the closest unit because of less than 10 wounds. That's always a bonus to be able to take those guys out, try and dissuade that swarm line, those little bugs, before they actually catch you. And the points cost is the last thing I'll really be talking about regarding this particular codex. The points cost for the models, there seem to not be a lot of difference. The points cost for the actual model itself has dropped, but you have to now pay for things like bolt pistol and bolter. So if a unit's dropped by 3 points, then you still have to pay an extra 2, so it may have dropped by a point. The interceptor units or the Primaris, they've not got really any cost difference between themselves and the Deathwatch Codex compared to the Space Marine one, but again they don't get access to the special ammunition rounds. That might be a factor of why their points are not actually different at all. There's only a couple of points difference in a lot of the units. I know the Corvus Black Stars come down by 10 points. In this type of army, that's not going to get you a lot. Your basic blokes are running about 16 points apiece. When you add a couple like the bolt pistol and the bolter, suddenly they become 18 points. And we all know people like to kit some units out with power swords and storm shields and various other different gubbings that will actually increase the points cost of the unit overall. That's pretty much it. It's not a big codex. Well, it's not going to be, because of course you just add in Primaris to a Deathwatch Codex that's already got all the other Space Marine stuff in there. So your stratagems, yeah, they're going to be quite useful. I think the Tyranid one, because it can be used on any unit, will probably be used on like veteran dreads with last cannons, or maybe even a Land Raider. Just going, yeah, I'm going to take out that Synapse creature before anything else actually happens. I wouldn't say overall it's a huge improvement over the Index. It's got a lot of special rules, and it does add the Primaris Marines in there. Whether or not I'll be looking forward to purchasing it, or probably just trying to figure out whether or not to get it later, when I've probably got a couple of more units of Deathwatch myself. I've only got a couple of squads, so it's not something I'm going to be rushing out to purchase straight away. But overall, decent. It'd be quite good against alien units, but if you're going against someone that's got a Chaos Army on a regular basis, you're going to get your backside handed to you. You're not going to get any real benefits apart from some of the ones with the troop types against those armies. So again, it's very specific, very much like the Grey Knights. Where Grey Knights are very good against Psychic heavy armies, I find them not to be particularly fantastic against anything else. Well, that's it. That's me done rambling. I hope you've enjoyed my take on a future codex that's due to be released this Saturday. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button for more, and we'll see you next time.